Welcome to a new video in my holiday home automation series, and that's going to be a new format, or at least I'm testing a new format at the moment. I'm testing some new gadgets as well, and I'm thinking about ways of spending a little bit less time creating content and actually, doing the stuff, working some new stuff in Home Assistant and also in Node-RED, and working on some electronic stuff. So what I'm trying at the moment is I'm trying different ways how I can make the recordings a little bit easier by doing the some of the recording and the screening and some of the other stuff, and trying to combine them in recording, so I have to do less editing. And now I'm also thinking about doing it in a slightly different format, like maybe doing something which is more live stream like. Even if I'm working on something new, maybe just to start a live stream, and then just so you can see how I'm building up, for example, a new flow in Node-RED. I can probably do the Node-RED parts because at least I know what I need to do. Anything I do in Home Assistant is mostly, just checking things doesn't work, try it in a different way, looking at articles, and getting really bored and fed up and just leaving the stuff and then trying the same stuff the next day. But I think in Node-RED stuff I can definitely do that. Yeah, so probably it's going to be even longer videos, even though my videos don't tend to be really, really short. So it could be more time consuming to watch, could be a little bit more boring. But on the other hand, I also watch other live streams as well, and I guess it depends on the content. So anyway, anything you think about what I'm saying at the moment, now or in the future, or Bob, in this video, just let me know in the comment section. If you think it's probably a waste of time or too much content, then well, there's no point doing me. There's no point in me doing that. Or maybe I can do a few and then we'll see how it goes. Or even if I do a longer live stream about building up something, I should maybe follow it up in a shorter follow-up video, something like that. I will try to figure out what works best, and actually how much time it takes for me to work with these new formats as well. So at the moment I'm recording this, I'm just going to upload it as just a regular video, but maybe the next one I'm just going to do live as well. I also need to figure out like how I can sort of like schedule my work to to do things at a certain predictable time. Obviously you would announce a live stream ahead so people can plan for that, and also like how I can focus on developing something and looking at the chat window as well and try to answer questions, or if comments come through, then incorporate that into the design as well. But I guess it's new stuff. You need to figure out whether it works for you or not. I mean, whether it works for me or not. Going back to the actual topic, holiday home automation, I mentioned in the previous video that I use this OS component. Sorry, this one, the contrib, what is it called? Yeah, Node-RED contrib OS. And that component comes with this example flow, which gets all this data, for example, CPU load, hard drive load, memory usage, that sort of stuff. And it creates a UI, sorry, not UI dashboard. Yes, UI, yeah, dashboard. So what is it? Node-RED dashboard. And the way I modify that flow is that every time I usually put something on the UI, like these CPU loads, I also send it off to an I also send it to MQTT to a specific topic. So as you can see, CPU load 1 minute, CPU load 5 minutes, 15 minutes, uptime, memory usage, and all the other stuff. And here I just have this exec node which gets the temperature of the processor. I also do some conversion. Oh yeah, I just convert the text to numbers. And that also goes to MQTT. And the reason it goes to MQTT, because what I figured out, I don't know how I figured out, I don't remember the article anymore, But then, so in the configuration YAML, you can create a sensor section, and then you can create sensors that are in platform MQTT. They have a name. That's the name that shows up in a card. And then you have a state topic, and that's pretty much it. And then whatever you send to the state topic, that is going to be the value of that entity. And well, after that, it was just a question of, going edit mode on the, well, I'm already edit mode. So going edit mode on the dashboard and, just create a new, I just usually use these entities and the gauges, and I think I've used the glance as well. But anyway, so use cards in order to show these values. And that's it. So what I'm trying to figure out, which I also already mentioned previously, is I don't think that I necessarily need MQTT for that. So there should be another way where the platform is not MQTT, it is something else. Maybe it's not a sensor, maybe it should be another, I don't know what sensor is called. Is it entity type? Is it a group? I'm not really sure about the terminology here. So I'm looking at a way where I can, change the configuration YAML, create these entities in a different way, and then what I could figure out so far by looking at, blog posts and videos is that you could use the service call just to update something in MQTT. So you can use the service call, for example, to turn on lights or, select inputs and that sort of stuff. But I don't know how to do it for, the type that I need to create in a configuration YAML. So I guess if I figure out how to create that, it would make it straightforward how you use the service call. But I have no idea. I tried looking into this domain because I can definitely see the MQTT here, but I couldn't figure out what is the domain that I would need to select. Maybe I need to create input numbers and then I use the set value service. But then how you create an input value in the configuration YAML? Or maybe it should be something else. So yeah, if you have any ideas, let me know, because not that anything wrong with the MQTT, but it just feels like that in this particular setup, I wouldn't be using MQTT for anything else. So if I can get rid of here, then I can just, stop that service. So that would be less something running on that, poor Raspberry Pi. What is it? I think 3B Plus. So yeah, that's it. And I'm also trying to figure out a couple of things here in this cards as well. Like, why is it that if I click on the temperature, then it shows me the temperature values like in a graph, but when I click on the CPU load, it gives me this, stupid history, which takes ages to load and render. I'm guessing it takes ages to render on the graph itself, or this visualization, and how I can control how much information is displayed here. Because if I have these graphs and these takes ages to close, even on my laptop, not even mentioning how long it takes in the Raspberry Pi. If I accidentally click on this card, it goes away thinking for half a minute at least. So here, if I edit, for example, the CPU temperature, then I'm still waiting for that pop-up to go away. Yeah, whatever. Maybe I should, okay, now it's gone. So if I go here, I can change this to 2, but that seems to update the card, but then not the state history. That still shows me way too much data. Yeah, not sure. I'm also concerned about the disk usage. 26% is not a lot at the moment. I just don't want Home Assistant to keep filling this memory up, or the SD card up with things that I don't need. So I need to find some data retention policies and that sort of stuff, how I can just control it and keep it within some limits. I mean, to be honest, especially these ones, I don't think I really need more than a couple of hours of history of the CPU load. CPU temperature, I don't know, maybe a day, probably not more. To be honest, I think what I really need to figure out is it's okay to look at these, once in a while. It looks flashy, but I really just have to think about it if I really want to use this information for anything. For example, probably I can set up some sort of alerts if the temperature ever goes above maybe 50 degrees or 55 degrees. So at least I have an idea whether I need to install a fan or not. It hopefully should be okay without a fan. Even my other Raspberry Pi is without a fan, but that's only running Node-RED. So I don't know how much Home Assistant adds the overall load. Maybe I could look at the 1 minute load as well. If it goes like maybe 0.5 consistently, then I know that something is happening. But that could be just, Home Assistant or Node-RED updating something, or just, the Linux system updating, running some updates, even though I haven't really set up anything. But I know that, for example, if I set up, Let's Encrypt SSL, then, within the setup process, it sets up an automatic update. So it would keep updating the Linux distribution as well. So that could be one reason why the CPU load goes high for a period of time. So loads of questions, which I haven't dealt with, and I haven't dealt with even in my other setup that I have running for like the last 3 years. So, but definitely Home Assistant is a new thing for me, and it probably adds a lot of other uncertainties and questions in my mind. So, and the other thing I'm also working on, which I thought could be the first live stream, building this from the ground up, is this internet connection check, which is going to ping a server continuously, and then from that it would be able to tell if I lost internet connection, because the way this is going to be installed, it's going to be connected to router, which has this USB 3G modems plugged into it, and I've noticed that 3G modem tends to 3G or 4G tends to lose connection. So sometimes when we are at holiday, then maybe like, once in a while, I just don't have an internet connection anymore. Wi-Fi is still up. If I go to the server, the router administration, it says that it either says it's connected or disconnected, but it doesn't try to do, it's not doing anything. So it doesn't try to connect again. And of course, the only thing I do is I unplug it back in. So I want Raspberry Pi to do that. So it keeps monitoring, keeps pinging a server. If there is ping, then, well, everything is fine. If there is none, so if there is no response, then maybe I just wait for a while and I try to reboot the router. Once the router is rebooted, then I wait for more. If my internet comes back, well, everything is fine. If it doesn't, I just keep rebooting the router every, I don't know, 15 minutes, half an hour, something like that. So that's what the flow is doing at the moment. And I also want to, well, obviously have some ideas how I'm going to take it forward. The core logic is working, but I was thinking that maybe I can take this status and then pass it over to Home Assistant so I can put it onto the dashboard, which I guess it makes sense, because if I'm there, I can look at the dashboard locally. Well, even if I'm connected locally, I can look at the dashboard. But anyway, but that's one more reason, or that's one more question, how I can pass data from Home Assistant to, from Node-RED to Home Assistant outside MQTT or without MQTT, because I do have this ping, so I'm sending over the actual ping values, which you can see here, and it goes up and down quite a bit. So, but that's also MQTT. So maybe this could be another type of sensor which is not on MQTT. So yeah, that's what usually keeps me awake at night. Okay, not at night, but so these are the things that I'm trying to figure out in the evenings. If you have any ideas to anything that I've said in this video, you just let me know in the comment section below, and hopefully I can follow this up with another video, maybe in another format in a couple of days. I'm thinking about just getting one more cameras that I can point on the desk, because I do have some electronics projects, the ESP home test boards, that sort of stuff that I can also show a little bit more easily. Maybe I can, have different screens and then just switch in between when I do the recording. Especially it would be nice to do that if I'm ever doing live streaming. So yeah, trying to keep up with the technology. But I think that will be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.